Welcome aboard Duffy Chats. Today we're excited to have Katie Machoskie, a luxury real estate specialist here in Newport Beach, on board with us. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah,
it's wonderful to be here.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today.
Of course.
So we're going to get right into it.
Okay.
We know that you're a SoCal native.
I am.
Graduated from UCLA. Go Bruins.
Go
we
Bruins.
We know not everybody likes to hear that.
Oh, I know. There's a few of us in Orange County.
That's right. So what brought you to Newport?
You know, actually, my aunt and uncle came to Newport in 1969.
Wow.
And so I've been coming down to Newport. We would trade cousins and, we would come down for events and stay weeks at a time in the summer. And so Newport was always part of our family. We had July 4th parties and tug of wars, and it was a really wonderful place to kind of be a second place where I grew up. So after college, I was freelancing. I was an entertainment publicist and a corporate publicist, and I kept getting freelance work down in Orange County. And so I just thought it's just so much easier because a lot of my clients were here. I came down and just moved here. And all my LA friends were like, "Are you getting married? Why would you move there? It's so slow. It's so sleepy."
Different now though, right?
I loved it the second I moved here.
Awesome. Great.
Amazing. So most of us know you as a real estate agent, and can you tell us what drew you into that specific career, some of the highlights and reasons?
It's funny how I literally fell into real estate, and I think a lot of agents, when you talk to them, there's kind of an evolution for a lot of us. I think few people grow up saying, when I grow up, I want to be a realtor. So I was actually in One Ford Road. I had a bunch of neighbors over. There were 5 of us. I had finally, after being a publicist, I spent 16 years in nonprofit management. And I was executive director and raised a lot of money for some wonderful causes. I loved what I did, but I kept having babies and I was getting exhausted. And what's funny is real estate is 24/7.
Yeah.
You work 7 days a week, but I was having tacos and margaritas with a bunch of women who were getting their license or starting their class the next day. And kind of on a whim, my husband just said, why don't you go with them tomorrow and get licensed? And fast forward, I'm the only one of them that works actively.
Wow.
And I absolutely loved it. And kind of everything I'd done in my careers before, I'd reinvented myself a few times, led me to this. I love the psychology of it. I love the deal making, the negotiating. I love the PR and marketing of it. I love every aspect of it, but the interpersonal part is, I think, my favorite, and it all played together. It's kind of funny how I literally fell into it.
Yeah, literally. So you mentioned One Ford Road. So let's go back just a little bit. Your original homeowner.
Yeah.
So how did you land on that community, and why have you stayed there so long?
I always say, it's my husband's fault. And
That's
I
terrible.
also say he was right, and it's okay to say that once in a while. But he was his brother had a friend who moved there, and he kept saying, there's this place, you guys should look at it. And I think we were on our 3rd baby, and I was out to here pregnant, and he was just running over to One Ford all the time, and it was just basically dirt and a few models. And I just finally got to the point where he showed me a piece of paper. There were 5 houses. I picked the largest lot. I said, they're all beautiful, they're all gonna be great, they're half built. This one, and it's one of 8 that has a view, which we love. I have sunsets every night and just spectacular views.
Wow, just one of 8.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Catalina, some of the customs on Troon, those are different. Some of those have views, but of the semi-customs, one of 8. And it was just a home run. It was nothing of what I expected. And it's really fun if you ever get an opportunity to be one of the first owners in a new development, because everybody is new, and
excited.
We made the most wonderful friends, and so many of them are still there, and you build this sense of community. And it's a very special place. We just love it.
It's one of my favorite communities.
Yes. So on the heels of it being a special place, what makes it so special? Can you tell us a little bit? I know each neighborhood has
everyone has a little flavor.
Yes.
What I love is we have such a wonderful mix of people. And so the first thing is, everyone thinks, oh, there must be a lot of families there, and there are, and the amenities are off the charts. So it's like living in a resort. We have 3 pools. One is a little wading pool. We have an amazing 3,000 square foot fitness center. If you're not there, the neighbors notice. I'm like, hey, we missed you yesterday. So they keep you honest. But basketball, volleyball, croquet, events off. Every holiday has a really fun event. We blow snow at Christmas time and have Santa come and do an egg hunt at Easter. It's just a really wonderful, warm, welcoming community. And then beyond that, there's lots of places to walk and green belts and parks, and people actually say good morning and hello to you. And we get into the longest conversations walking our dogs, and you kind of know each other by your dog, but it's not at all what I expected. And it's just a beautiful place where kids can be kids and run free and just have fun. And our kids thought they were, we're going down to the park, when they were 7, and thought that, they were big kids, Yeah, and it's like they could hop on their bike and go play with their friend.
And it's gated, so
it's what kids
nice
should be doing.
For those who don't know, it is gated, which
I was
makes
about
it
to
nice.
say that too.
Yeah,
and they are probably the most gorgeous gates.
Oh yeah,
hand forged in Czechoslovakia by one man.
Oh wow.
So there's a lot of history and fun things about how it was built, and it was modeled after the Ford estate. Okay. And so that one Ford Road comes from Henry Ford's, one of the estates. And that entrance is kind of an iconic entrance that's modeled after one of the Ford homes. Yeah.
So you have seen the Newport real estate market evolve over the decades. What has been maybe the biggest change that you've seen?
I think obviously, Newport Coast came out of nothing, and it grew in the 90s. And so that became, in terms of just development, that was probably the largest development overall that you see. And then also in just Newport, there's a lot of homes. So you look at the port streets, when I was coming down in the 70s, so it was, a very sweet neighborhood with a lot of 1970s style homes. Many of those homes have been reimagined and expanded, and it's just a wonderful neighborhood. I would say overall it retains a very small town feel, and I love that aspect of Newport. And in terms of real estate, yes, it's growing, and we hear about condo towers growing, and cities are being tasked with building density, and you have to meet certain amounts of residences that are available. But other than that, it's somehow maintained a really special place. Where else can you find this many homes on the water and have so many different environments? So I think that's what's special about it.
And kind of blending the old with the new, so you get the best of both.
Yeah.
So if you were showing one of your clients what the neighborhoods here in Newport Beach, which 3 stops would you choose just here in Newport in general to take them to?
Well, in terms of showing a client, the first thing I'm going to do is spend a lot of time talking with them. So I'm not going to have that preset notion. It's going to be what matters to you. Tell me, what are you looking for? Are you looking for a view? Are you looking for somewhere where your children can go find a friend and hop on their bike and you feel safe about it? So it's really, that would be very, very custom to the client. If I want to just get them familiar with what Newport has to offer, I would say one of our favorite things to do, my kids love Trader Joe's. And so we will make our pilgrimage to Trader Joe's in Crystal Cove, actually. And one of their favorite things is you come, and it never gets old.
That view.
Yes,
you come down and you see that view of the harbor and all of the homes. And it's such a great snapshot of what Newport is. And Corona del Mar is also kind of a suburb of Newport. Has its own zip code, but it gets the Newport services, so it's part of Newport. And you see that stunning view, and I think that is a great snapshot. From there, I think I would take them, you're down Jamboree, so we've got to make a left turn on Balboa Island, because that's one of our most iconic islands. We have lots of islands, but that's a really special one. And Marine is our main street. Kids will say that live on the island, I'm going to go downtown to the candy shop. They go downtown. And then you got to hop on that ferry that's been around forever, cross the ferry.
Forget about that,
All of our out-of-towners love it. And then make a little pit stop at the beach and walk on our stunning beaches. From the moment I learned to walk at Newport Harbor Yacht Club on that tiny little beach. I took my first steps there. But those beaches are as stunning and as beautiful as they were in the 60s, 70s, 30s, 40s. So I think you have to show people the beaches.
I love that.
Yes.
Yeah. So what do you think is the most underrated, or I guess underrated neighborhood in Newport Beach, if there is one?
I don't know if it's underrated, but I think if we're thinking like investment opportunity, 2 things come to mind. If it's Newport, there's there's a really interesting part of Newport. We actually lived in an unincorporated part of Newport before we were in One Ford Road. And that was funny because we were a Newport address with Costa Mesa Services and Irvine Ranch water.
Wow.
The joke was like, who are you going to call if you need a fireman? But they showed up. But that windy little serpentine area along Irvine Avenue, kind of over toward Costa Mesa. It can be Costa Mesa here, and then it's Newport, and then it's back to Costa Mesa, and then it's Newport. And I think there's some really, really special opportunities in terms of building and renovation. Those are good investments. And the other one, I think, if you're very patient, and this is not Newport, but I would keep an eye on West Side Costa Mesa, because you look at East Side Costa Mesa and then it jumped to Mesa Verde, and there was this renaissance happening there, and then pulling into College Park, it's coming back this way, and that means West Side Costa Mesa. And I think if you're an investor and you're patient, that's a really, really important part. We say Newport, but Costa Mesa is right on
there.
the border.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing if you're a Newport
tips.
resident, if you're looking for investment properties.
Good tips. Yeah.
So great. If you could change one thing about the real estate industry and how it operates, what would it be?
There's kind of a hot topic right now in our industry, and it's about our MLS. And an MLS is basically a trade organization, and we, as agents, we have to join an MLS. We need the MLS. We love the MLS. It's a great resource. But there are times when a seller has privacy, concerns. There might be a life issue going on in that they don't want the whole world coming through their home. They want a private sale. But if we have a listing, we absolutely must put that listing on the MLS. There are some ways that we can delay that. But, and I always say, if you want the top dollar, broad exposure is the best way. We want to get you on the MLS. Absolutely. But there are times when a seller has certain feelings about how their home is going to be marketed. It's their home.
Sure.
They should have the ability and the power to market their property however they want. And our founder, Robert Refkin, who is an incredible human being, and some people call him a disruptor. He's too nice of a man to call him a disruptor, but he is a disruptor in very good ways.
And this is Compass, by the way.
Yes. Founder at Compass. He's just an incredible human being and a wonderful, inspiring leader.
So Katie, if there's one thing that you could change about the real estate industry and how it operates, what would that be?
I would say that in our MLSs, which an MLS is like a trade organization, so realtors are required to join an MLS. Or you join a board and you join an MLS, you pay dues. And there are rules and regulations which are perfectly fine. Sadly, there are people in the world that can't police themselves, so that's okay. We want to make sure everyone's operating in an ethical and fiduciary manner for their clients. But clients who are selling their homes should have the ability to choose how their home is marketed. And sometimes there are life events happening. They might be a public figure and they want a quiet sale, a private sale. There just may be reasons for a seller to want their property marketed in a certain way. And MLSs require, if you have a signed listing, to put that property on the MLS at some point. And if you don't, you get fined. And they're heavy fines. And to me and to a lot of us in the industry, our CEO founder of Compass, who's now the founder, we purchased Anywhere, which is the Coldwell Banker family corporate, and we had a major acquisition, acquired a lot of companies. Robert, who is the nicest human being in the whole wide world, is very passionate about sellers should be able to market their properties the way they want to, and their agents shouldn't be fined for it. And so if I'm taking orders from my client, if they want their property marketed in a certain way, that should be allowed. So we're not anti-MLS by any stretch. Broad exposure on the market is the best way to get top dollar. But sometimes a seller has other reasons and motivations, and they should be allowed to market that way. So we've got to fix that.
Do you think that change will come?
I think so. I think we're getting there. I think we're making progress.
That's good.
Zillow used to ban any listing that wasn't, that was privately marketed prior, and that stopped, after a very long conversation with them. So I think we're making some progress. Zillow is a platform. It's not an MLS, but
interesting.
We're getting there.
All right.
Yeah, it's about client. It's all about the client.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems logical.
Yeah.
So what you've seen a lot of homes. Probably a lot of interesting stories. You could write
I have
a book.
I would love to write a book.
Yes, I know.
Some really
Yes.
wonderful, fun,
I
endearing
bet.
stories. Yeah.
But what is one of the most interesting things that you've found at a home that you visited or represented?
An item that I found?
Maybe, yeah.
We've had a lot of really funny stories. I think sometimes when you're just caught off guard, one of the funny ones was I walked into a home, and oddly enough, that day we had seen homes that just had the funniest animals in them. And we went from one house out of chickens, which you kind of see that more and more. Back then you didn't. And we walked into the next house, and there was a pig running around the backyard.
And we were just little guy, or like kind of a big,
size, medium-sized pig. And it was
I
just
was like, I didn't know you could have pigs.
and we were
well,
just
maybe not.
yeah. It was just one of those days where you just think, what is going to happen
How
next?
funny.
You know, and we had a good laugh about it. And you know, it makes your client really, you build a really fun camaraderie
I'm sure it's
when you
have
run into
those
funny
stories.
things like that. Yeah, and then they start naming the houses. You know, the chicken house,
Yeah,
the piggy house.
Yeah.
But those are some
Cute.
kind of just silly
That's
fun
cute.
things that you run
That is
across.
fun.
Yeah.
That is really funny.
Dogs that bite, try to avoid
Well, yeah,
them.
yeah, a lot of that. Yes.
Yeah.
So, Katie, what's the most emotional win that you've ever had?
I think going way, way back, it was a moment where I kind of thought, this is why I do what I do. And I've had a few of those that are just special sales, but one of them was a guy would wash my car every Saturday, came to our house, washed our car. They had three boys, and she was pregnant with another. And one day the wife came to me and she said, would you help us buy a house? And I would love to help you buy a house. And so we went through, looked at houses, and on closing day, their youngest was standing in front of the door, and we were just kind of doing our walkthrough, and he was standing at the door just ringing the doorbell incessantly. And Jenny was just, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. And she kind of not grabbed him gently and guided him away from it. And she said, I'm so sorry. He's always wanted a doorbell. I still get misty about it.
How cute.
She's like, we've always lived in apartments and we've never had a doorbell. And he would see doorbells on TV, and he just was like, can we please have a doorbell someday? I was like,
So cute.
it was such a moment for them, and you realize that's
special.
homeownership
So special.
is a very big deal and a very special moment for people, and you can never forget that.
I wonder how long he kept ringing the doorbell like that. How many days, weeks, years? So cute.
Maybe he's still ringing that
Yeah,
doorbell.
maybe. So real estate transactions can be stressful for all parties involved. Is there one standout, I guess, deal, I don't know if that's the right word, transaction, where it was going to fall apart, but you saved it in some creative way?
Oh gosh, it's my favorite story actually.
It's really fun.
I'll try to tell it really fast. But I was selling a home that was referred to me by a wealth manager, and the home had never been sold in 50 years. And it was actually the gentleman's childhood home. And so sold the home, everything was great there, really, really got it into escrow pretty quickly, and had another gentleman who really wanted it. And I said and I was, by the way, again, pregnant, getting more and more pregnant with Molly as the transaction was going. And so that couple had purchased another home, and he was a big boater, by the way. It was really fun to work with him. And so they were in escrow on the house they were purchasing, and the house they were selling was a gentleman who kept threatening to cancel. And I'm getting more and more pregnant. So finally I said to the other agent who had a client who wanted it very badly, I said, why don't we negotiate into a backup offer? Why don't you have him review all the disclosures, because this baby's coming, and why don't we just tee it all up? You can even open escrow subject to cancellation if you want to, because we need to tee up. We had a lot of timing that was really tight. Well, of course, the day I'm in labor, buyer number one cancels.
Wow.
And the agent's calling me. It's like, he's done. I am so sorry. I am so upset with him. I can't believe it. I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. And he said to me, are you in labor? And I said, at the time it was Braxton Hicks. And I said, no, I'm okay. I'm good. That's my fourth baby. I know what it is. I hang up the phone. He was like, if you're in labor, and because I called you and told you this bad news, my wife's going to kill me.
Oh, wow.
It's fine. It's fine. I called him on the 5th floor of Hogue, and I said, it was Sean Grange. I love him to this day. And I said, Sean, I'm in labor. I'm on the 5th floor. I sent you the cancellation. I pick up the phone to buyer number 2. I'm waiting for a bed. I'm literally in contractions. And I
Wow.
said, Julia Bland was the agent. And I said, Julia. And she kept telling my clients wants you to know that his knees hurt. And I said, why do his knees hurt? And she said, because he's been praying for this house. So I called her on the 5th floor. I said, Julia, tell your client to get off the floor. He's got the house.
Aw.
He's in escrow.
I'm having a
I'm going
baby.
to go have a baby. And so we had Molly, and everyone came to visit me. And it was so much fun. And the sellers came to visit. And my assistant was there, of course, back and forth. But it was just one of those crazy moments. And thank God for epidurals, because I got a lot done. And we laughed because back then I had a BlackBerry.
Yeah,
iPhones
right.
weren't even, they were just coming. And it was just this crazy, crazy time. But the funny part was when people would meet Molly, they kind of knew some of the transactions. She said, why are people so excited to see me? I said, because you were part of my title rep came to see me.
Wow.
I mean, it was like, it was really, really a
So
funny,
this is
funny.
24/7 real estate at its best.
Yes,
right?
it is.
Yes,
No
it is.
days off.
It can be done.
Yes, exactly.
But that was a great way how
That's a
we
good
kind of
story.
saved it for
Yeah.
our clients, and they were able to purchase the other house. I mean, that was the thing.
Wow.
We couldn't have a dumpster fire happen. It's just like we had to keep this moving.
That's
so
amazing.
special. Just a
It was a
testament
fun
to your
one.
dedication
It was
to your
fun. It was
clients.
so fun.
Wow.
And just plan.
So, Katie, what's the most unusual must-have amenity that a client has asked for?
Oh boy.
I think, well, it's kind of a surprising one because most people want, I want light and bright and all of that. And
Not
I
the
had
pig in
the pig was,
backyard?
everyone
Okay.
wants a pig in the
Yeah.
backyard, obviously.
Yes.
But I had a wonderful client, and he said to me, I'm going to be a little tricky to work with. I said, okay, let's go. And he said, I have a very extensive black and white art quality collection of photography. I need tons of walls, and I need my
Gallery
house to be
space.
very dark. And because it would fade the photography. He's like, I don't want light and bright. And we would walk in, it
Wow.
got to be a joke because we would walk in and they're like, look at all this light, isn't it wonderful? It's like, no.
Not at all.
And so, and I actually found it
found
for him,
it?
but it's such a good example of there is a lid for every pot, whether you're dating or looking for a house. It's out there, and you never know what someone's going to ask, and want, and then you have to go figure it out and find a way to find a dark.
So was the house just the
Multi-walled
construction
house.
of the house that made it
Did not
dark?
have a lot of
It
windows
wa-
and orientation.
orientation.
Yeah.
So not much
So
like
it
the
backed
walls
to
being
kind of a
dark,
gully,
but-
not
okay.
like Buck Gully, but it backed and had a lot of foliage. So it just was
So interesting.
and they were probably worried about having trouble selling a house that was kind of dark.
Yeah,
and
I
I
bet.
had the
Here was the
perfect buyer
perfect
for it.
person.
Yeah,
We'll take it.
You never know.
That is crazy.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So let's shift gears a little bit to personal things. Like we just said, real estate agents work 24/7, but you've got to take time for yourself. So how do you spend your personal time recharging? What do you like to do here?
A big part is my family. I absolutely love spending time with my family, and I always carved my work life around my family. So I coached soccer for 19 years because I would get FaceTime with my kids. I would always figure out a way to have time with my children and still be in the community. But I really, truly, I love kind of two parts to my life. I love coming home to my sanctuary. I love to cook. My son's an amazing cook. We cook together. We love to just create really fun meals, but we hike and walk. My two sons are long distance and marathon runners, and we do a lot of hiking, walking the dogs, spending time together. Because in those quiet moments, you have conversation. And there's someone told me years ago, have conversations with your kids where you're both looking forward, like in the car.
Yeah.
Right.
But walking and just spending time together.
And the cooking.
Yeah, and it's just, I love that sense of community. We sit in our dining room every night and have a set table and dining room
How sweet.
and dinner, unless some crazy show is on that we all want to gather around. But that is super important to me. And
Love
then the
that.
other part is I'm a big reader. I was an English lit major, but
Or
I love
author?
reading. And I have 2 children's books.
Ah,
Good
yes,
memory, yes.
yes.
So I'm a closet writer. I'm working on something right now.
Oh.
And that's just a fun creative release for me. And then I'm a huge, I don't sleep a lot, and I love
we know about that.
every show you can imagine.
Yes.
I have a very eclectic, we've
Yes.
talked about that, but I have a very eclectic sense of what I like to watch. So all of those things help me recharge. Just quiet time, early morning quiet time is probably the recharge
Don't
part
you
of just me alone. And
Don't you do a lot of walking, hiking through different countries?
Oh.
On your
yes, I do.
She travels a lot.
I will give a huge shout out to the iFit app, and I have a treadmill that has the iFit app, and every time I get my nails done, because
She's a world traveler.
one of my manicurists says to me, you know, like, where are we today?
Yes.
And I'm like, I just left Vietnam, and we always joke about, wow, you look so rested, you know, not jet lagged at all. But yeah, right now I'm in the middle of the Grand Canyon.
Wow.
But I have done Everest, Kilimanjaro.
Put this on your
It's
resume.
fantastic. And you
so
follow
cute.
a trainer. He goes up, you go up. She goes, you know, in
Wow.
descent. You're descending with her. It's incredible, and you learn so much about the
That's
world.
fun.
So it's one of my escapes. I do it every day.
That's cute.
Yeah, I
That
love
is
it.
so
That's
fun.
funny. I forgot about that.
So you've been here for a while. What are your favorite date spots, lunch spots,
yeah.
some of your local shout outs?
So date spots, we love to try anything new. Like my husband he's a big foodie too. So we just went to Sugarfish. We love Sugarfish.
Yeah. I order
Happy-
twice a week from there,
Oh,
everybody.
it's so delish. It's exceptional. Lunch, I can walk to Newport Beach Country Club. I love the sense of community there. If you haven't figured that out, community is really big
Yeah.
to me. So we love having lunch there and just catching up with people and catching up with each other. And then a happy hour. We are at Gulfstream frequently, you know, and we always joke, as soon as Lent starts, you know, every Friday we're at Gulfstream. But
Do they know you by name
They
there?
do. They know.
All of them.
Yes, there's a running joke. When I had braces, they would bring me a straw for my red wine. They still do it.
Oh, that's
But
funny.
it's fun to just, you run into so many people and
Yes.
you can catch
Yeah.
up with so many people, and I love that. And I think, yeah, I love exploring new places, going to a restaurant and just closing the restaurant down and having an amazing conversation with good friends. That's the best part of the week.
So we talked about the old and new of Newport. So what is maybe your favorite old school spot? And I'm hoping you say something with the name Blue. And then what about new? Do you know what I'm,
No, I got to think
and maybe
about
I'm
that.
saying it wrong. Blue Beat?
Oh my gosh.
And then a new place. So an old school and a new school
that's
place.
funny. Well, old school for dining has to be the old arches. Because when I was having Molly at that fated delivery, my husband was hungry and I sent him down to Arches, which was closing.
Oh.
And Arches is now a restaurant,
Yeah.
you know, but if you're a newbie, you know it as but if you're old school, you know it as, it was the Arches. And, you know, John Wayne, Errol Flynn, Marilyn Monroe, Rosalind Russell, like you name it, they were all sneaking down to Arches for dinner. So I sent him down there for one of the last dinners that Arches served. But so old school, we love we love Nick's. That is for new school. That is exceptional. That katsu salad, I dream about
I have
it.
it all the time.
Oh
That's
my
my
gosh.
favorite too.
It's incredible.
I love
I think
it.
we finally have a place
Yes.
that will stay in that spot.
I think
right?
you're right.
Let's hope.
I think you're
Yes.
absolutely right. But I did meet my husband
Yes, tell
at
us.
the Blue Beat
So that,
back in the day.
so that has to be on the
Yes,
top
I did.
list.
And I just accidentally told him where I lived, and he ended up writing me a letter to Katie because he had just moved out of 21 and I had moved out, and I lived at 17. And I said, we just missed, on the same street. I said, we just missed each other. And then I thought I just told the axe murderer where I live.
Oh no.
But he remembered it and wrote me a letter and said, would you have lunch?
Oh.
So it was a respectable way to meet someone at Blue Beach.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Yes.
So cute, so cute. So one of our favorite questions is I don't know if you have a Duffy vote,
No. we
But
did
if
not.
if you did, what would you name your Duffy vote?
Well, I love a good pun.
Yes.
And I know it's usually electric, but that's a tough one, I think.
It is.
You know, the obvious one is real
Pun intended.
estate, like
Oh, yeah.
REEL,
Oh, yeah.
real
Oh, that's
estate.
great.
Yeah.
It's funny, we
Seen
were
that one.
talking about this a while ago, and my son was like,
Bless you.
bless you. Location.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because
Yeah,
about
that's
where are you
cute.
going?
That's a good
so
one.
probably
I love
that.
that.
There's another one that we always try to make up a word with all of our initials as a family,
you
and there's
know? That's
only
cute.
one word.
What is it?
It's makers. M-A-K-E-R-S,
Oh,
makers.
cute.
You almost
So
would
that's
have to.
kind of my
I
favorite.
think so.
Yeah.
You're
I'm a
such
softie for the
yeah,
family.
For the family.
Yeah.
Cute.
Yeah.
Well,
so
thank
sweet.
you so much for joining
This
us.
has
What a
been
great
so fun.
conversation.
Yes.
Thank
Lots
you.
of little
Thank you.
tidbits
I
that we all
know,
got
I
to
know. It
learn
was so
about the
fun.
real estate industry,
Ford
local
Road.
favorite, investments, opportunities. So thank you so much.
My pleasure.
you.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
It doesn't get any better whether it's foggy or sunny.
I know, it's
you
still
cannot
wonderful.
lose on Duffy Ride in
That's
Newport
right.
Harbor.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.